To say you gotta know somebody, or know somebody to give somewhere these days. To say you know that's alright, yeah, that's alright. Cause you know that's alright with me. Yeah, you know that's alright, yeah, that's alright. Cause you know that's alright.
Okay, everybody. You better get your pillow out, because once you start letting me talk, I'm not going to stop.
Uh-oh, here we go.
All right. One of the reasons that I wanted to talk about commercial real estate is, first of all, there might be some people in the room here who are interested in investing in commercial real estate. And if you're not ready now, you might be one day. So some good stuff I want to talk about today is how you evaluate a commercial piece of real estate. But I also think that when you learn how to evaluate a commercial piece of real estate, it teaches you how to evaluate everything else. The part that Jeremy covered today, he's a very detail-oriented kind of a guy, and I'm definitely the opposite. I'm Mr. Shoot from the hip, okay? Talk about no calculator. I don't have a calculator. I don't have a pen or a paper or anything. I mean, I do a lot of what I do on feeling, and I have no programs for analyzing property. I just use common sense. And it has to be such, especially in today's market, it has to be such an amazing deal that there's no question in your mind that I am buying this property. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about how you analyze a piece of commercial real estate, and then we'll get into it. This property, I wanted to show you a picture of it because I'm going to specifically talk about this particular deal. So, commercial real estate is essentially valued on cap rates, and if you don't understand them, they might sound complicated to new investors or people who haven't bid on property. So I'm going to explain a little bit about it today. It's really simple. It's easy stuff. I maintain that this business is a simple business. It may seem complicated to a new investor, but you do not have to be a brain surgeon to be a successful real estate investor. You have to be, you have to have a certain level of intelligence. You have to have common sense, and you have to be willing to go out there and make it happen. But you're going to find it's not complicated. Okay, so let's talk about Executech Suites and how, when I bought the place. It's a very simple formula you use to determine what a cap rate is. It's the gross income minus the operating expenses equals the NOI, or net operating income. Okay? Then you take that net operating income and you divide it by the sales price that the property is being offered at, and that gives you the cap rate. So the cap rate, what does it mean? It's just a number, right? Higher the cap rate, the better the deal. Okay, is essentially what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to closely reflect the rate of return that you're going to get on a property. So if the cap rate is a 10 cap, then you should get somewhere around a 10% return on your money. But it's a little more complicated than that. It's a little more confusing too. So I'll give you the example of Executech Suites. Executech Suites had a rent roll of like $43,000 a month when I bought it. And so the actual gross figures coming in on that building were like $500,000 a year, roughly. But when you backed out all the expenses of running a big building like that with utilities, janitorial services, management companies, receptionists, telephone systems, and all the things, the net operating income, okay, was $268,000. So it's simple. I took the gross income the place was making, $500,000 a year, subtracted from that number all of their operating expenses over the course of 1 year, and I came up with an NOI. And when I bought the place, I didn't trust that the owners, this is a big, big investment. You're talking about a couple $1 million here. I didn't trust that the owners were going to tell me the truth. So they gave me QuickBooks files, they gave me tax returns, they gave me everything. Because you're talking about, when you're buying something for a couple $1 million, you want to know everything, okay? But I wasn't satisfied with that. So I told them, I want to meet with your accountant. And what I did was, I went out and I looked for the biggest geek I could find in all of Pennsylvania, right? Who's an accountant, and his name's John Hebner. I don't know if you guys know. You have one just like him here in New Jersey. His name's Mark Halpern. Okay? But those guys are great. I mean, you want smart guys who will analyze things to death. I'm not that kind of guy, so I brought a guy like that in. And I John Hepner in a room. I paid him for his time, paid him handsomely, and I sat him in a room and I had him drill their accountant. What is this line item? Why is it here? How is this? He made him nuts. And you know, and when he said, Phil, you satisfied? No, I'm not. Keep doing it. I was loving it. and what we found after the end of this exercise was, he was telling the truth. He had a legitimate explanation for every single gray thing on the tax return you could possibly imagine. We made him pull out documentation, go get files and everything, right? We drove the guy nuts. He's still my tenant in this building now because the accountant who represented the sellers had an office in the building. So he's still there now. He's actually my accountant now. We drove him crazy. But the point is, you don't have to be a genius to figure out commercial real estate. You just have to have some common sense and say, you know what, they've given me all this information. If something doesn't look right there, get out of the deal. If you something didn't look right on ours, but I was willing to dig further and they were willing to answer my questions until I was satisfied, and that's when I bought the place. So I knew that this place had an NOI of $268,000 a year coming in. Now the sales price that they were offering at the time was like $2.3 million. And I was negotiating with these sellers. I got the price down 150 grand. Remember, this was like 2006. So the market was still pretty hot then, all right? So I got a $150,000 discount, and the calculation is easy. You take the NOI, you divide it by the sales price that I had negotiated, you come up with this figure of 12.5 cap rate, all right? Which is, you know, anybody here take a deal that makes 12.5% on your money? Right? I'll take it all day long, okay? So that's how I determined I was comfortable buying this property. Now, cap rates can be a little confusing because sometimes if you talk to a commercial realtor, he'll tell you, well, we don't have 12 caps in this area. Our local cap rates tend to be around 8%. You'll hear that from people. So, and there is some truth to that certain areas get certain cap rates. Other areas don't, just like, you know, low-income neighborhoods and you know, values are lower, and higher income neighborhoods or more desirable areas, people pay more money for those properties. So commercial works the same way a little bit. You can also take the NOI, so you have to know the NOI in order to be able to calculate any kind of cap rate. And you could divide it by any cap rate that you're comfortable with. In this case, I'm dividing it by the exact cap rate that I had negotiated it for to get the sales price. I'm just showing you that because you can invert the numbers on this. As long as you know the NOI, you can determine the cap rate or you can determine the sales price. So there's a way to play those two numbers back and forth to figure out where you want to be. So in the example of Executech Suites, $268,000 divided by what they told me was the local cap rate, that would mean that the building was worth $3.3 million. So what did that show me? It showed me that maybe cap rates aren't that important, for one thing, because if other office buildings were selling at 8%, you know, why was this one selling at 12? So I had to really think about it, and I said, well, the more you learn about cap rates, sometimes what happens is the less attention you pay to it. But it's important to know it. It's important to go through the exercise in your mind, but the less you really need to pay attention to it. Now to me, I didn't have the numbers of operating expenses, of gross income on all these other buildings that were selling for 8% at the time. But what I did know was that my particular building was a very unique building. Executech Suites is what we call full service office suites. So it has 47 different offices, and we provide everything for the people. So they come to an office. I rent them one office for, say, $695 a month. And in that office, they get the furniture, they get the internet, they get the telephones, telephone numbers, fax numbers. They get conference rooms, mailboxes, printers, copiers, scanners, 2 full-time receptionists to answer the phone in the name of their company and patch the calls to you no matter where you are. They get the utilities, the janitorial service, all of that. So because we do this full-service concept, people were willing to pay a higher price per square foot, okay? So I knew that the place made significantly more income than a standard